Origin Channel, Somsuji Reaction, and this is Why Did the World Let India Annex Goa? Short and documentary, but history matters. Let India, okay. Okay, I guess, it belonged to Portuguese, right? In 1961, the Indian army marched into Portuguese Goa and after 2 days of fighting, formally annexed it into the country. Given that the world largely believed that conquering foreign lands hadn't been cool since the end of World War II. What was it? Foreign lands, but this is a different situation, man. Portuguese, colonized Goa, let's just say. That doesn't make there from now on, right? Portuguese are not native to Indian subcontinent, right? It's different. If India had annexed, let's say, Indonesia, yeah, this would have been like, why would they let this and that, right? So people draw the line where it's most convenient to them, and people will, basically say like India didn't existed before. Yeah, as an official country didn't exist, but if you've seen the Crowds video, it would tell you how India has been there for a long time based on religious, and it's different. There's a video about India versus China. I don't know if I finished that or not. I'm pretty sure I didn't. Wait a minute, did I finish that? I don't know. I think I finished it. I think India versus Pakistan, that I didn't finish. But India versus China, if you see the Crowds video, it will tell you, right, that it's based on religion a lot. So whether it was official country or not, it was, in religious texts and everywhere, it was recognized as a whole country, from Indus River to all the way to south. So, there's a reason why, lots of things have Indian name, even in Pakistan and places, because as based on religion-based country that it was all India. So you can't just say like Portuguese in some few centuries ago took Goa, so it's now there. Why did world let India annex it? It was India's. Just like India fought against British, just because this belonged to Portuguese doesn't mean it's Portuguese now. They're going to kick them out as well, obviously. And yeah, why did the world let, what you mean world by USA, right? This is 60s, let's be honest. It's USA mostly, everybody's supporting role. Yeah, okay. Supposed peacekeeper of the world. The US only do things that benefits them, right? In 1971, Pakistan attacked India because they never got over with how the borders were drawn. So they call it, I don't know, what was it, Genghis Khan, something like that, Operation Genghis Khan or something like that. They attacked India. India was in defense. What did USA decided? To support Pakistan, the aggressors, right? India has never been the one to, most of the time, I don't know the exact history, but most of the time India is never the one aggressor. They're always has the neutrality thing they're going. They're always either defense or a response. Right, so what the USA decided to help Pakistan. That's why Soviet Union sent submarines and shit to help India, which is why even today, Russia and India's relationship are so strong. Because why is India helping Russia? Because we know the history, right? So USA decided that they are going to back China and Pakistan because they want to fight Soviet Union, right? They abandoned India as a friend. India was a friend of USA. So they abandoned that, helped China and Pakistan. So Soviet Union did who's left? India. Soviet Union created a friendship with India. So, why did the world let, there are no peacekeepers. They only do what benefits them. And if world USA had, intervened around this time, it was a Cold War going on. Soviet Union would have eventually, helped India and created this massive spark over one place, which was, everybody just thought it belongs to India anyway. It's Portuguese and, colonized it, so what? British left, Portuguese has to, have to go too, I guess, or something like that. So they're not going to create a massive conflict, which, amplifies Cold War from their point of view, from USA versus Russia thing, USA versus Soviet Union thing, so that nobody intervened. I guess this was going to be, but let's watch it. What the? Oh, there we go.
After World War II, the global community for the most part came to the conclusion that invading your neighbours to take land wasn't okay anymore. Yet, in 1961, India invaded the Portuguese overseas territory of Goa to incorporate it into the country, and right what the Indian government saw as a historic wrong. But given that India simply marched its army into the territory of a Western European nation, this raises a question. How did the world react to this, and why didn't anybody try to stop India? So, as you'll know, India gained its independence from Britain in 1947 alongside Pakistan, and despite Britain being gone, there were other European countries which still held territory in the area. France, for its part, ceded its lands to India in the 1950s, and India had hoped that Portugal would do the same, and so it asked if the country was open to handing Goa back and when it would do so. The Portuguese response was that they were happy to do that roughly 5 minutes after the heat death of the universe. And the reason that Portugal refused was that unlike Britain or France, the
I love it. Very heat death of the universe. That's just so strong.
Portuguese government held no distinction between overseas territories and Portugal itself. Shockingly, the Indian government wasn't
Neither do France. They left.
happy with this, and so built up its military on the border and started to hint that it would invade. The Portuguese knew that they couldn't resist, and so they turned to a third party to negotiate, the British. In a twist that will shock exactly 0 people, the Indian government wasn't willing to be lectured by
Portuguese went to India. We're gonna have a mediator. It's Britain. And everybody was just looking around. Oh, you're gonna call Britain, really? After what, 14 years after the independence?
their former colonial masters and what lands they were entitled to. And so relations got worse and India sanctioned Portugal. The Indian government continued with the diplomatic route until 1960 when it decided to just conquer the lands instead. In December 1961, the Indian army entered Goa and in 2 days it had been overrun and the Portuguese garrison there had surrendered. So how exactly did the world react? Well, when the invasion occurred, the Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev was visiting the country and along with the rest of the communist world, he congratulated the Indians on making their country whole again. With one notable exception, China. Because the response there was mostly non-existent because, well, they were busy planning for a thing. But as for the rest of the world, well, the Portuguese of course were none too pleased, but they had one trick up their sleeve. NATO. The hope was that since Portugal saw Goa as a part of the country proper, NATO would do the same. It did not. Instead, most NATO nations condemned the invasion, demanded that India withdraw, and some placed India under sanction. Britain was less harsh in its condemnation and largely blamed Portugal for not accepting the inevitable. But beyond this, there was no
This is so childish. I love this shit. Everybody condemn, but British like, yeah, it happened to us. Why are you special? Britain like, yeah, we gave away entire country. You can give away Goa. Portugal is like, you're salty, aren't you?
nothing the world really could do. No nation in NATO cared to do more than the absolute bare minimum to defend the dying Portuguese Empire, and India knew this. Furthermore, it was difficult for Portugal or its allies to retaliate because the overwhelming majority of Goa's population wanted to join India. After which there was nothing more to be done, and so everybody accepted it almost immediately thereafter. Of course, with the exception being Portugal. And it wasn't until its dictatorship was overthrown by the military in the 1970s that the new government formally acknowledged the loss of Goa, after which the two nations normalised relations and everybody moved on and the annexation was largely forgotten. I hope you enjoyed this episode with a special...
Well, there you go. Look, if most of the Goa was inhabited by Portuguese, somehow they replaced everybody, I don't know, did some atrocity and replaced everybody in Goa with Portuguese, then you can make argument that everybody's Portuguese. Why is India doing this? Sure. Right? But that's not the case, obviously. Everybody in Goa wanted to be part of India. Of course they did. Right? So, of course, this is going to happen. Yeah. I know somebody in the comments just going to say, like I said, India was not a country before 1947. Goa was never part of India. Man, shut the fuck up. It's not about official records, right? Indian subcontinent, like a Crowd's video says, was always India, whether officially was or not. That's just how India's structure worked, right? Every text you'll find, acknowledges India as a whole. Everybody just, agreed that this is India, right? I mean, there's a reason, after the British occupation, there were no multiple countries fighting for independence in the subcontinent. There was one, right? And by the end, when the, Hindu Muslim kind of spark happened, that's why Pakistan became Pakistan. Otherwise there was no fight from the start for Pakistan. It was just one big fight, like one big independence. But because of this I don't know I can't find the word, religious, I don't know why I was having a hard time finding, because of this religious issue, Hindu Muslim religious issue, Bangladesh, to Pakistan rose up, then became Bangladesh. But yeah. Alright, well, that was Why Did the World Let India Annex Goa by the channel History Matters. If you like my reason, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.